Lying in bed on a frosty night, Pip closes her eyes and squeezes them tight. On the wind she hears words in whispers carried high on the air. She opens her eyes, light having long faded, and stares at the shadows on her walls. Long, outstretched arms lifted tall, her eyes follow the flock of giants convening in a tangled huddle on her ceiling. Out of bed, Pip bounds to the window to catch them out. She finds them silent and still and placed as before, swaying in the breeze and sadly nothing more. The next morning, Pip wakes with her head in an ache.
Mama, last night I think I saw the trees, as if to a tune, uproot, gather and dance right under the moon. What are these strange things, and what are their secrets? And why do they meet whilst I'm lying there sleepless? Can I speak with the trees and ask them for answers, and find out if I actually saw Bark's leafy dancers?
Sensing the plot forming in Pip's mind, Ma responds,
Yes, dear, do as you please. Consult with the trees, and then you might seek out the answers you need.
but be patient and kind and give them some time. Remember, beauty can come from not knowing. That's fine. Brockley Station, that's where Pip starts. First, the small Italian cypress, a narrow, upright, pencil-like evergreen conifer.
Dear Mrs. Conifer, tell me if you could, did I see trees move like only humans should?
Closing her eyes as hard as can be, the wind hugs around her and she hears, "We are one, but also as many. To find out our secrets, you must go ask plenty." So Pip runs along for a word with the elegant Persian silk trees. In summer, their otherworldly pinkish flowers dance in the air, sharing a delicate scent. But today instead, they stand unveiled by winter.
Dear tree, I would like to please know the secrets of yours and how do you grow?
The mimosa, sweet and gentle, tells her. Whilst all through the day we stretch right up high, by night our leaves droop as the moon shines in the sky. That's why in Japan, and far east across the sea, we go by the name Mimonoki, sleeping tree. Foxbury Road, that's where she next stalks, a road lined with shimmering silver birch trunks. Pip strokes the bark whose layers flay like tissue paper.
Dear trees, can I know the secrets of your power, and if you've ever danced into the twilight hour?
She closes her eyes and the birch creaks and groans.
We, a pioneer species, represent renewal and beginnings. The Finnish have loved us ever since we've been living. Our small rounded leaves let much light to the ground, which means other things living near us are found. But dancing, why no? If only we could. Movement like that is quite hard for wood.
Puzzled, Pip ploughs further on, spotting a rowan that displays crimson berries that capture her eyes with ease.
Dear rowan, what is your story in this place that we know?
The rowan responds, "Dear child, in a time before yours, it is said that God Thor was saved from a river by a bending branch of ours he clung to. My berries too, with their 5-pointed bottom reminiscent of the pentagram, have been a symbol of sanctity for those that need it. So please take a berry of mine if you can, and it will serve you here on as a safety talisman." Pip reaches down and takes one of the rowan's many fallen berries from the floor and carefully places it into her pocket for safekeeping. She then continues down the road and on a bend, a young birch, this time Himalayan, stands, its bark iridescent with horizontal cracks.
Dear young birch, do you go by any other names? The mimosa told me theirs. I find it quite strange.
Pip inquires.
They call me Mother Tree because we were the first to grow, after the Ice Age had thawed and melted the snow. Humans associate us with the moon due to the shimmer in our bark, whilst carrying out rituals of light seeking to banish the dark.
Opposite Mother Tree, a cherry twists and grows, wispy and bare, its trunk all exposed. Its naked branches shiver in the chilly winter breeze, the cold having rid its limbs of their fruit and its leaves. Pip asks,
Dear cherry, you look so cold and lonesome. What do trees do to feel less alone?
Cherry utters back,
Don't fear for my bareness, it's part of my cycle. Next spring returns my leaves for life that is vital. We trade nutrients with others via our roots, from the mightiest oaks to the tiniest shoots.
Pip is starting to understand the wonders of these plants. But did they really congregate at night and break out in dance? To the Church of St Andrews, just round the corner, it's with the Fraxness that she continues her quest for the truth.
Dear Ash, can you hear me? And do you really move? I hear words and see motion when I lie in my room.
Ash sends his answer back in a glow. Listen with your heart along with your ears. We are all around you, but our life is quite different. Our pace is much slower, our growth subtle to the eye. Our bark peels and cracks as our rings multiply. My eldest ancestor was known as Yggdrasil, a sacred one that linked and sheltered all the worlds. Since then we have moved and danced throughout time, and if months were mere seconds you'd see me dancing with lime. Further down the street on the corner a small bare lime stands. Its leaves there no longer as the cold grabs Pip's hands. She continues along, sure that there's still answers unsaid, about how the trees congregate and danced all while she's in bed. She finds a procession of giant mature trees with scaly multicoloured bark patterns, a khaki camouflage patchwork. The trees appear inverted, with their roots jutting into the air, flailing into the sky. Pip is confused. Have these species uprooted themselves and flipped in the air, leaving their roots standing tall and branches buried downstairs? Perhaps she's finally found in this oddly active row the culpable actors of that nighttime dance show. So Pip asks,
Dear trees, do tell me what are your names? Why are you inverted? Why do you engage in such games?
But all Pip hears are deep aches and groans, muffled voices straining to be heard. Confused, she follows the row of trees, winding round the corner but still no reply. As she emerges onto the main road, she spots a large tree standing at the park's entrance. The scaly plates of its bark are reminiscent of those inverted fellows she's heard no reply from. Before Pip can ask a question, the tree speaks. Oh child, my friends tell me you've been asking them queries, and found yourself coming up with strange tree inversion theories. We are London plains, we are hardy and strong, but these roots are in fact branches, you've just got them all wrong. Their arms have been pruned, so mere stumps are what's left. So these folks without growth, in fact, feel quite bereft.
So did they not uproot and partake in some sort of dance? I was sure it was them.
A puzzled Pip asks. Surely no, it was not us, for there is a purpose we share. We must stay grounded right here and draw gas from the air. Our purpose as half of the trees in this city is to absorb dirty smog through our bark, flaked and bitty, while shedding ourselves to remove toxins from our skin. We maintain longevity and health for our tree lives within. She thanks them for their service and runs up the path. As she ascends the hill, she feels a force tugging her upwards, the air beckoning her deeper into the parks undiscovered. Pip zigzags left and right, letting the momentum of some unknown force guide her. She is suddenly glued to the spot in front of an impressive oak, standing proud and tall, fenced into the playground. The last of the tree's beautiful, distinctive lobed leaves clinging onto their winter branches, with their now brown, crisp texture, scarred by the passage of time. In awe, Pip asks,
Dear Oak, I've spoken to so many, so please can you tell me, did your body uproot and indulge in a nighttime dance revelry?
The oak's strength and magnificence are heard in its utterance. We oaks stand firm, and our roots, whilst not deep, do stretch out wide. So it must not have been us who from the window you spied.
But who could it have been?
A desperate Pip cries. The frustration of not knowing brings tears to her eyes. You must visit the cedars east of here. They sit fenced away to the right and the rear, a descendant from the line of the cedars of God. In Mesopotamia it was their kind who were frequently awed. So go forth and ensure that it is with them that you speak, as I know that with them lies the wisdom you seek. Pip excitedly carries the oak's words with her as she delves deeper into the park's heart. Ushered along down the hill through a corridor of trees, mostly horse chestnuts now stripped of their autumnal bounty of conkers. Along the hill's bottom, she passes a corpse of young saplings straining to break into adult life and gain independence from the roots that bound them to the earth. Their vulnerability and youth, a reminder of the humble origins of their mature and mighty neighbours. Pip finally arrives at the fence that must contain the cedars. She hurriedly unlatches the gate and skips through. She spots the cedars reaching tall with horizontal wisps cascading up their trunks. Pip dashes forward and yells,
Oh, white cedars, you must help me, for I've asked far and wide. To navigate these secrets, I need you as my guide. Was it trees I saw dancing whilst in my bed I lay? Please help me understand. What do you have to say?
The front cedar assuredly responds.
So it is you we've heard talk of, a child who is so bold, is determined to reveal tales of trees' movements untold. But now we have to end this search and leave your hopes forsaken, and tell you with a heavy heart that your perception was mistaken. It sadly wasn't our kind who you saw congregating, dancing lit up by the moon, laughing and elated, but merely the night's wind and light casting an illusion that misled you and caused you to reach a false conclusion.
Pip stands shocked, finally grasping the truth of what must have been a bedtime hallucination. The trees weren't dancing after all. She pivots to leave, having finally found resolution. Suddenly, the other cedar adds,
But do please continue to talk to the others still unmet, who will reveal more tales that you won't likely forget.
Pip rushes through the labyrinthine roads that surround the park, each lined with different species, many of them familiar, having revealed secrets unknown to her before. She spots a strange giant standing in the distance, its unusual leaves triangular and jagged in uniform rows all over its skin. It sniggers over the wind, anticipating a question with one of its own.
Child, for all your intrigue and tree fascination, I doubt you can solve this peculiar equation. What once ruled through these lands, but is now not so common? Its presence in the underworld is almost all forgotten. Its planting by some means man's liberty. Its relation to ivy can be love simile.
Pip exclaims,
Of course, I recognise your Christian identity. You are the spiky riddle maker, that monkey puzzle tree. I'll solve all your clues and find the answers that you seek.
Pip stares back at the spiky tree for any further clues, but it merely sways defiantly in the breeze. She dashes on, trying to suppress the frustrating truth of her original quest with this renewed sense of purpose. She crosses over a bridge as a train clatters underneath, interwoven with the wind resisting her movements as she walks. The sky is turning grey, and the clouds are quickly congregating in a frantic bustle as the promise of rain hangs heavy in the sky. Pip keeps an eager eye out for new trees as she traverses the roads back towards her house. Down more roads, more trees, none yielding to questions or offering any clues that can help solve the riddle. Approaching the church, she spots a tree covered in green glossy leaves, many with spiky edges. Deep red berries gather in small pockets throughout its foliage. She recognises it immediately as holly. Maybe this is the enigmatic fellow the monkey puzzle quizzed her about, so Pip pries.
Dear Holly, I've come feeling rather confused. The monkey puzzle tree has left me bemused. Is it you who I've heard is rarer than before, who guarded the underworld in Celtic folklore?
The holly harumphs and replies full of spite, a prickly character in tone and in sight.
How dare you interrogate me with such accusatory notions, and disrupt me standing here with such trivial commotions? What right do you have to demand of us trees, to answer such questions as foolish as these?
Pip, shocked and taken aback, replies.
You've misunderstood me. I must apologise. I came on this journey with only interest in mind.
Realising a way to prove her intent, Pip reaches into her pocket and produces the protective berry that her good friend Rowan supplied. Holly, now far from thorny delights.
So much for malicious purposes. I can see kindness instead. Because of this symbolic berry that, just like mine, displays so red. It shows to me your cause and journey here has been approved by other trees like Rowan, my second cousin once removed. Continuing your task to solve the riddle is what you must do. But be cautious over there, for dreaded Death Giver called you.
Fearful but curious, Pip edges closer, carefully crossing the road towards the hunched conifer standing guard on the corner. As she approaches, the tree's needles flicker in the wind, and a low, rumbling groan is heard. My leaves, which are silvered in the moon's eclipse, prove toxic to those whom it passed their lips. My life is a present standing in a memorial in time. I exist upon this earth, reminding of death's final time. And so when you are beckoned to come beneath the yews' dark shade, ask yourself, is this the end, and should I be afraid? A cold chill sweeps across Pip as she's gripped with fright at this tree. So Pip runs, afraid to turn back and confront the ewe again. She sprints down the adjacent road, desperate to escape the trees. Their branches now seem to cackle in the increasing gale. But then suddenly, a warmth halts Pip in her tracks. She looks up, and next to her is a mysteriously understated tree, now also bare from the stark midwinter. Despite the cold, she feels a comforting reassurance emanate from its trunk, so Pip reaches out to stroke its rough, fissured bark. It heaves some words with a sigh. Do not be afraid of dear old you, because like him, I am often one who is referenced as death's synonym. But whilst you humans do fear the darkness of the end, I can assure you in me, Elm, you have a trusted friend. We were once so common, growing plenty far and wide. But the wretched Dutch disease meant that many of us died. A decline in population, an underworld fixation. Is this clear correlation an answer to that strange equation? Pip yelps with delight.
Oh, Elm, you're the one that so far has eluded me. The riddle now I've solved it from that monkey puzzle tree.
The elm chuckles and exclaims, Oh dear, that wretched tree, with his godforsaken games, always sending you curious folk to go searching for such names. It seems you finally found me and also understood how none of us do dance at night because we're made of wood. So now you've reached the climax of your tree inquiry trip. Go home and carry these lessons with you. Please remember, my dear Pip, if you ever find yourself alone, depressed or quite dejected, remind yourself that you and trees will always be connected. Please nurture us and water us and protect our living kind, and in return we'll help you breathe and let you clear your mind. Our whispers on the wind and mutterings on the air is how we try to tell the world that for you we do care. So Pip thanked Elm and ran back home, with many a word to say about the wonders of the tree, the friends she'd made that day.